Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Cooper Lyden is Alone, and as always, you know it smell crazy in here. Once again, we are going to be reviewing the oldest kimchis in the world. This whole series that we've been doing of reviewing the oldest kimchis in the world has really taken a toll on my personal life and my home life, which is just me by myself, still taking a toll on that. My fridge is fucking packed with kimchi because, once again, these are the oldest kimchis in the world, so often you have to buy the whole barrel. So, you can't see, but in my kitchen, I have about 6 standing, about 4 foot tall clay, traditionally Korean barrels that are just packed to the brim with kimchi. A lot of them, over 50 years old. And I've been trying to give it away to friends. I have a few friends that like kimchi. A lot of people out here like kimchi. But, either way, you can have, a million friends that like kimchi, but if you just got 6, warm barrels of it in your house, people aren't really going to come out and buy it. So, and I'm trying to sell it. I'm trying to at least break even off it because, each one of these barrels, the most recent one I bought cost $1,500. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. I was looking at the analytics on this show. Most people don't listen past 8 minutes, which is fun because that means that most people who listen to the show just hear me describe a show that doesn't exist. Most people just come in and they hear me say, "Welcome back to the insert new joke show." And then they go, "Huh?" And then they just check out. I'd like to believe that every time I do that, people believe me and are upset by it. I like to believe that on the last one, there was some guy who got recommended my podcast randomly, clicked on it because he was nice, and then was like, "This guy's stealing shoes from Aaron Rodgers? What the hell?" I'd like to believe that's what's happening, but I don't think it's what's happening. Anyway, here we are back. Things are going great for me. As I told you last week, I'm going through a terrible time in my life. Good news, my toilet broke. The tank just cracked itself open. And it didn't fall, there's just a huge crack in the tank now, so if there's any water in it, it gets all over the floor. I've told this to multiple people. I've told it to everyone that I've seen in the last 9 hours. And twice when I've told people, yeah, my toilet just sort of cracked all by itself, 2 people have went, "Yeah." As if that's a thing. I didn't know this was a thing. Anybody listening, has your toilet ever cracked on its own? Just nobody's touching it. It's just in your bathroom, chilling, and then it just snaps its own neck. That's what happened. My apartment has been so depressing, my toilet killed itself. And that's what I'm dealing with now. So, I don't know. I don't know. And I have to leave tomorrow. I have to go to Jacksonville, Florida to do stand-up comedy. Going to be opening for Eric Griffin, so that'll be fun. But I just have to leave this toilet here that's completely broken. And I don't know how to make the water stop running besides shoving some toilet paper in like one of the, it's not a valve, but you know what I mean, shove it somewhere to stop the bar from falling and the water to start rushing out again. And I wish I knew about toilets because I'm sure there's one little thing I could unhook and fix this issue. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have to leave for 4 days and hope that a tiny piece of toilet paper stops that water from continuously running. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to come back to a flooded apartment. And it'll flood other apartments, and everybody's going to be really mad at me, and I'm going to get in a bunch of trouble, and all my stuff is going to be wet. And, it's crazy living in a studio apartment, because if it floods even a little, it is just devastation. It's like the fires on Maui. There's nowhere to go in this apartment. Sorry for being insensitive, but right now I'm also going through my own natural disaster of my toilet cracking open, okay? That's what I am dealing with. I heard it. I was sitting on my bed watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia on my laptop, whose the screen is currently broken on my laptop. I'm just living a fully broken life. Barely getting by. just kind of half looking at the screen because it's kind of fluttering now. I got to get it fixed, but it's $600, which is just another laptop. Sitting there watching that on my shitty laptop, being like, wow, my life is a little depressing and shitty right now. This blows. And then I just hear my toilet. And, sometimes you hear your toilet kind of working stuff out. Sometimes you hear your toilet being like, and you're like, whatever, it's got some water stuff. It'll be okay. The toilet, I've had it. It's been a good toilet to me. It'll keep working out. This time I heard porcelain. I just heard a snap. And I was like, what's crazy is I didn't say it to myself. Like, I didn't have the words for it because I didn't even know this was a possibility. But I heard it, and I did think, did my toilet just crack open? And I walked inside, and my toilet was cracked open, and I was like, why is this? Because I'm going through a hard time. I'm feeling worse than I have in a long time. And then I have this problem, and I'm like, I didn't even know that this was an option. I didn't even know that this could happen, that toilets break on their own. When did we find this out? When do you learn this? Does this have to happen to you before to know this? Because I've never heard anyone talk about it. I don't know. It was, it's like, can you imagine the first guy whose toilet just randomly cracked open, how shitty it was to be the plumber that had to come over and fix it? The guy was like, yeah, the thing just cracked open. And then the plumber's like, yeah, I think that can happen. The guy's like, what? This is his first toilet. He's 40 years old. He grew up on a farm shitting in a hole. Now he's in the city. He's got a toilet. He's excited. He's like, this is great. What can go wrong? And then one day the toilet just cracks, and he's like, I hate technology. The hole never cracked. The hole in the ground that would be filled with shit, and then we would cover with a thin layer of dirt, and our entire community smelled like shit. That was not a broken system. I come to find out now that I've moved to the big city. Now I'm working in a factory with my 7 children sleeping in a closet. Thought we could at least flush our shits down, and now the toilet has broken. Back then, the tank was all the way up there. Imagine how scary that would be. You're sitting on the toilet, taking a shit, then you hear a porcelain crack. Now you're getting drenched in tank water, which is fresh water, but, fresh as the crystal geysers, the lakes. Yeah, I don't know. And that's a new thing in my life, and I have to fly across the country away from it. And I don't know how I'm going to function, because I leave my house to go get some food or do an open mic, and the entire time I'm thinking, like, is my toilet flooding my entire apartment in the building, and is it going to come back on me? And even though this wasn't my fault, I'm going to have to end up spending thousands of dollars? Is that what's going to happen? Is that what's happening right now as I'm out here having fun eating tapas? Is that what's going on? And I come back and everything's okay, but now I have to fly across the country for like 4 fucking days. I'm supposed to go do stand-up, make people happy. Every time I'm on stage, I'm just going to be thinking, I really hope my apartment's not fully flooded right now. I hope there is not a sea. I hope there are not groupers swimming around the floor of my studio. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like I don't know. It's I could never believe in God. If I believed in God, I'd be like, why the toilet before Jacksonville? Like, you dick. You knew it was coming up, and you still do this? That's why God is almost like a bad husband, where you're like, I have so much going on right now, and you put this on my plate too? He's like, I'm just testing you. You're like, we're married. Come on. But maybe that's a problem, is maybe God knows that I'm not fully bought into his shit yet. So he's like, I'm going to give him some challenges. Guess what, idiot? It's driving me away from you, dumbass. You're not going to get another follower, okay? You're not going to give me mystical toilet breakings and make me believe in the light of the Lord, okay? I'm not going to do it. You're pissing me off. If you exist, you are pissing me off. If he exists, that means everything that's pissed me off is him. And I'm supposed to go to heaven and look him in the eye and be like, thanks. Like, what about all the good stuff? You're like, fuck the good stuff. You broke my toilet. Like, the toilet broke on its own. It's like, dude, you broke the toilet. This is my first time finding out you exist. Coming up here to heaven. The devil didn't break my toilet. And if the devil broke my toilet, what a stupid devil to be. That's the way that you're the devil? Is that you just mildly fuck up people's lives? Is that what you do? It's also interesting. It's interesting what Christians choose to say God did and what choose the devil did. Because, like, if your grandma dies, a super crazy Christian person would be like, well, that's, God taking him away, and that's God testing you, and these are all moments that God is giving you. Nobody's grandma ever dies and they're like, the fucking devil. It killed. If anything, if the devil exists, he should be responsible for all deaths. That should be his department of just killing. Because that's evil. But apparently it's God a lot of the time. Apparently God is doing all of the killing. The devil doesn't get to kill anybody, but I guess the devil is allowed to, like, tempt people? I don't know. God's powers are, like, so much greater and usually more evil than the devil, because, like, God flooded the entire earth and killed everybody. That's, like, the most evil thing that's ever been done. If that was a decision that was made to kill everybody on earth besides a couple people, that's, like, the rudest thing I've ever heard of. And that was God? Meanwhile, the devil is, like, telling you to eat an apple. The devil's like a good doctor. Devil's like a good guy. Like, he's like, no, the apple is fine. I don't get God's thing. He made the apple too. Like, it's here. It's in the garden. He's telling you not to eat it. Logically, there's a logical fallacy in this garden. He implanted a logical fallacy in this garden, which he's calling a test, but there's no test. Okay? This isn't a test. He gave you a bunch of fruit, and now he's telling you can't eat one fruit. That's not a test. That's like manipulation, okay? It's textbook manipulation, and that's what's happening. And that's what he said to Mary, and that hit her well, you know what I mean? That hit her well the same way as a guy trying to fuck your girlfriend is just kind of like, that's like not cool what he's doing. It's like that's what the devil did to Mary. Not Mary, Eve, my bad. Mary was nothing like Eve. But sorry if that's annoying, fixing the mic, but made it worse. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is all God. It really pisses me off. It's funny to think about. The devil's powers are like pretty light. I don't really know the biggest thing the devil's done. I mean, I guess he's like given us original sin, but also the only reason we got original sin is because God made that as a caveat of not eating the apple. We gave ourselves original sin. The devil just sort of told us, like, well, if you want to eat the fucking apple, you can eat an apple. You're an adult. You're a grown person, okay? This whole no apple shit is gay. If anything, if you really rethink the devil's play in the Adam and Eve story, it kind of sounds like the devil was trying to have more of a partnership with God, Because apparently the devil, was Lucifer, the fallen angel, and then he became evil, like he was sick, he was like right-hand man, he was super cool, then he fell. But what pisses me off is they don't explain that in Genesis. Like, I don't think they explain who the devil is before I think he just comes in and they're like, this is the devil. And then later they're like, yeah, there's this whole thing about him. And it's like, I don't know. It just sounds like there's a lot of negotiation to be had. I think God should have sat down with the devil. He could have been like, hey man, listen, you create these two new beings, you put them on earth, you give them consciousness, and then you give them a test immediately, and it's like not cool. Okay, like they don't need that. Like, that doesn't have to happen. You don't need to do that to people. If you want to give them fucking apples, then you have to let them eat the apples. It's like not cool. And God would have been like, it's a test. And he'd be like, stop with the test. There's no reason for tests in life. Okay? We can just like have a good time and enjoy each other and eat whatever fruits we want. Because look at Eve right now. She's eating the apple. She feels good, doesn't she? And he's like, yeah. But it's like bad good. He's like, what's bad good? He's like, pleasure, gluttony. You're like, what is that? He's like, it's when you eat too much. You're like, you gave them all the food in the world. You're just setting these guys up to fail. Meanwhile, Lucifer is just like, listen, we're all trying our best. And you are like putting a lot of weird, things onto people and making them feel really bad about just like trying to hang out with like, their husband or whatever their situation is and like have a good time, I wonder how that happened with Adam and Eve. Like, I wonder when the fucking happened. Because they're the first people to ever fuck, which is like they were the first to ever be like, is there a thing here with us? But that's like that must have been the easiest. Adam must have had like the easiest way to fuck a lady in the world. Because fucking hadn't been invented, but they had all the tools. So they were just like, are we gonna fuck? Are we gonna like invent fucking? Like if we fuck, we kind of invent fucking. Like that's should we do? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, if we don't, we're just going to like die and nobody else is going to show up. And she's like, I know, but you're like my friend. And he's like, I know we're friends, but like, we're also friends because like nobody else is here. And also like, we're kind of brother and sister. Like you're almost my child, really. Cause like you're from my ribs. Like you're me. So it's sort of like I'm you, you're me. It's like if we fuck, we're kind of not fucking anything, you know? It's like masturbation, which apparently is bad, by the way. I don't know if you've done that. And Eve's like, really? It's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, if you like make yourself come. She's like, I've been fucking nutting like crazy. Been rubbing the fuck out of my pussy lately. Are you serious? That's bad? No way. You're joking. He wouldn't do that. Seriously? Oh my God. We are in big trouble. That's how Eve reacted when she ate the apple. She went up to Adam and she was like, he's like, what? He's like, do you just eat? She's like, yeah. She's like, okay. That's cool. And she's like, yeah, it's cool. So we are in big trouble. I swear to God, I'm so sorry. Yeah. He's like, no, you didn't talk to the snake, did you? He's like, yeah, I talked to the snake. He's like, well, you walked away from him, right? That guy's a bad guy. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's like, you ate the apple? I ate the apple. Yeah, I ate it. I like took a bite. I was hungry. And he said if I was hungry that I could just eat. And I was like, that's a pretty good point. So think I'm going to eat, you know. Those are my thoughts on Christianity. Those are the reasons I find it hard to be Christian. There's too much fodder for conversation to happen. You know what I mean? There's so much like debate over this because the problem is trying to sell Christianity through the lens of like human interaction is tough because you start judging it the same way you do other interactions, where it's like that story is like so much less metaphorical to me than it should be, because I just read that and I'm like, yeah, I just think you should be allowed to eat an apple. I eat apples. Also, do devout Christians not eat apples? I feel like they shouldn't, right? That's like the devil's food. Devil's food cake should be an apple pie. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't know, but that's why I couldn't be Christian. I had too many questions about people and their intentions. I always had, because like in the Bible, all the people in it are just kind of vessels for God's lessons, you know? But I just always viewed them as kind of individuals with their own things going on. And I had questions about why those individuals did and said the things they did, you know? Because we were learning about like Abraham or something. And we were learning about prophets, stuff like that, people that talk to God. And I was outside on the grass or at recess or something. I was talking with my friend David. And I was like, hey, David, you know how they're telling us all these people are talking to God, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you know how there's like homeless people on the street? Because we're from the valley. We're close enough to LA. We see this. We're like, you know how there's like homeless people on the street? And they'll be like, I'm God and stuff. He was like, totally. I was like, what is the difference? And he was like, dude, you are a precocious fifth grader. I swear. And then we called the teacher over. That's how we were young. We didn't know we were running into big issues, you know? We thought we could just ask questions. Like, called the teacher over. I asked her, you know, politely. I was like, hey, Miss Havel, I have a question. She came over, knelt down, and I was like, hey, so, you know, all these prophets, they're talking to God. What if they were schizophrenics? My dad was a therapist, so I came armed with mental illness. And, you know, I was like, what if they're schizophrenic? And she just paused. I felt really bad. Just a 30-year-old woman trying to teach a class, get through life. Felt really bad. I was like, yeah, what if all these schizophrenics, what if they're all just schizophrenic? They're not talking to God. They're just crazy. Because there's a lot of people that say they talk to God today, but we just don't believe them. So why do we believe them, but we don't believe these people? And she just, you know, knelt down and went, that is why we have faith. And that is, you know, in a lot of ways, the safe answer, in a lot of ways, an answer I would probably give if I was in her same position, but was a bad answer at the time because it just told me, whether I realized it or not, that faith is kind of just a way to shut people up. That faith is just, listen, this isn't bad, just have faith, and then it's okay. If you have faith, then everything will be fine, and that's not true. Faith can run you into a lot of bad places. You're like, well, let me just have faith in this business endeavor I'm doing. And it's like, this guy's stealing money from you. You don't have faith in this, okay? don't have faith in the church. You're giving them a basket of money every week, and you don't know why, because but you have faith. So you just faith your way out of it, And that's the problem. That's why you can't be a kid who is the son of a therapist and also learn about Christian doctrine. Because my parents weren't religious, but I like their idea. I think if I had kids, I would do it too. Where they're like, let's send him to a Christian school, and he can get a feel for it. He can get the vibe because it's going to come up in his life. He should learn about it, and then he can make his own decision, And that's what they did. But the problem is my dad was a therapist. And even as a young child, I was aware of therapy terms and what mental illness was, how it changed people's brains and their actions. I mean, not really. I just knew the basic concept. I'm not trying to act like fucking every day was a lecture from my dad, but just osmosis. You just hear it, you learn it, But I just learned that, mental illness, it changes the way people act and the things they do. And it's hard to learn about the Bible and people doing miraculous things because sometimes you go, hey, this guy sounds a little borderline. Okay? Nobody in the Bible is normal. There's nobody in the Bible that's just like a regular, like, hey, how you doing? And then God's like, bam! Like, it's not, It's not really how it happened. It's always just some guy. They're all enigmatic. They're all characters. They got a lot of stuff to say, Like mentally ill people. All the people in the Bible are very similar to all the mentally ill people I've met in my entire life. They believe in destiny. They believe in right and wrong. They believe they're getting fucked over or they got to fuck some more. It's like real aggressive. Bible people, man. They're not, I don't want to hang out with anyone from the Bible. Even Jesus, I could see myself getting a little tired of, you know what I mean? Just, there's no way, how cool could he be to hang out with? Because I feel like hanging out with Jesus would be like just hanging out with a priest or like a therapist. Where you'd be like, we should get fucked up. And he'd be like, that is the way of the and you're like, shut the fuck, Jesus Christ. Shut up, Jesus Christ. I think that's why Jesus Christ became like a thing to say when you're pissed, is because people were so exacerbated by having to fucking listen to Jesus Christ that he would just talk and they'd be like, Jesus Christ, will you stop? Okay, Jesus, I'm done. I'm done with this stuff. I want to go drink, and you can turn water into wine, but you're not doing it for us because that would be wrong. Shut up. Shut up, Jesus Christ. You got all this shit to say and not a lot of show for it, okay? Yeah, you turn stuff and other stuff, and yeah, you walk on stuff we can't walk on, but other than that, everybody's still fucking hungry. There's kind of... Listen, I don't know the rules of Jesus, but it is pretty hilarious that Jesus would, like, ever walk by a poor person, Because it's like, this guy has, like, the powers of God. So, like, does he have to be in front of everybody he does a miracle for? Because he goes up to the guy who's blind, and then he makes him not blind, and that's, like, a metaphor for, like, seeing the light or whatever. But it's also, like, can you do that for all blind people? Like, around the world, could you just go, like, and then no more blind people? Because if you can, and you're not, you're a dick. Like, you're just being a dick right now to all these people. I don't know the rules of your powers. Maybe I'm overstepping here, but it literally makes no sense that you can't, like, hook up a blind guy. Like, all of them. And then poor people, he can't just be like, hey, that concept doesn't exist in the minds of men anymore and we believe and care. Like, he had to teach everybody everything? What's up with that? Why is God causing problems and then trying to fix them with worse problems? Or just other things? Like, God looks down at the world and he sees all these people that need his help and his light and his answers. So instead of just endowing them with that knowledge and that way of being, he just sends one guy down who probably helped like less than 100 people total. And then the guy gets murdered. And then that's like the biggest thing. And then he just never does it again. That's like a terrible, stupid God. It's like, yeah, so there's all these problems on Earth. I'm going to send down one guy. He's my son. And he is going to teach them with his words. So if you're not there, you just don't get it. Which is just being like, okay, so like what? Everyone in China doesn't Get it? What do you mean? Like, at that time, nobody else gets to learn about it. And he's like, other people will do it. And you're like, hey, guess what? The missionaries that you sent out, they just started fucking everybody. They just fucked everybody they met. Okay? They're not Jesus. Why did you think everyone would be like Jesus? You stupid idiot. What are you talking about? You should have sent down 1,000,000 Jesuses. That would have been a great fucking answer. Is God shouldn't send down one son. He should send down 1,000,000 of his children, spread them out to every country in the world, and they teach everybody everything, and also they fuck and have cool kids. And then at that point, there weren't a lot of people. Everybody could have been a little bit of Jesus at that point. Everybody could have had some Jesus in them. Okay? You know who had a bigger impact in his life than Jesus? Attila the Hun, okay? And Jesus caught him on the back end, okay? You had that good post-mortem release of the book, and that really helped to stock, but, okay? Attila the Hun really did a lot in his life. Unarguably, way more than Jesus, okay? He conquered tons of lands, and he spread his seed farther than any individual on earth ever has. Meanwhile, Jesus is just walking around giving one guy one fish and being like, that's what's up. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Go out, have a kid. I don't know. Fuck somebody. What are you doing? You're 35. Why are you childless with no wife in like year 1? Most people had like 9 kids when they were 12. You're 35, no kids. You're about to die. It's also weird. It's like Jesus getting killed at 35. It's like, would he have just died like 3 days later? Like, that's old as fuck for one. What are you talking about? This is a childless man with 12 guys walking around telling people how to live. What are you doing? If a childless 35-year-old man with 12 friends that followed right behind him came up to me and told me that I'm fucking up, I'd be like, where is your job, kids, house? Like, what are you doing? He'd be like, that's all material. And I'd be like, I swear to God, go back to the record store you work at. Like, Jesus Christ, stop it, okay? Pretty much every successful podcaster now just is Jesus. Tim Dillon is a 35-year-old childless man that is telling tons of people right and wrong. It's the same as Jesus. Okay? He's not walking on water. It's the same thing. It's a middle-aged guy, no kids. Very successful career, though, so he's right on that. He can tell people what to do in that part. A little get up and go in the guy, you know what I mean? But that's every podcaster now is doing the same job as Jesus. Just, hey, I'm 35. I don't have any kids. I got some guests on. These are my boys. I'm about to tell you what the fuck is wrong with you. Like, what? I don't care. This is the guy that we're supposed to fucking care about? Fuck off, okay? Get out of here. I don't know. That's what we're dealing with. But, you know, good news is the NFL is coming back. And I'm going to miss it, which sucks because I'm going to miss it, like I said, because I'm going to Jacksonville tomorrow to do some stand-up comedy, and that's awesome. You know, I said when I started this, I want my problems in my life to be related to my work, because there are always problems, so I'd rather my problems be, fuck, I can't watch football with my friends, I got to go to Jacksonville and do comedy, you know? So in some ways, this is, you know, affirming. But it is funny because it's like, this is like my first, like, real out-of-town cross-country working at a club for a weekend, you know, trying to be cool, you know, be nice to everybody, get a name, make sure the club likes me. I'm just the opener, but still, you want to set good roots in certain places, you know. But it's interesting because it's like a big opportunity for me, you know, in a lot of ways. It's a big learning experience to try this out in a new place, you know. But at the same time, I just don't want to, which is weird. Like, I want to. I'm going to. But there's a lot of me that's like, oh, God, it's so much easier to just stay home, though. Oh, my God. It's so much easier than going to another state with different views and trying to make those people laugh. My God. You know. I also just realized how much of a Cali guy I am because, you know, I was asked to go do this show, and my first thought was like, they're all going to fucking hate me. North Florida? It's like red as shit out there. Like, those are the people that actually think Ron DeSantis is cool, you know? And, like, you know, I meet Republicans in my life, but I meet, like kind of normal. I don't mean like a lot of Facebook ones, like I'm worried that the people at this show might be people that like, post memes about, how there's a bunch of fluoride and every pizza place is a child sex ring opera. Like, I don't know who's going to be here, but also that's me being horribly prejudiced against most people are normal people. You forget that, and what's good is comedy, I think, eventually teaches you that. If you do enough road work and you go across the country, you learn that most people are pretty normal people, even if they live in places that your own news source tells you is crazy or whatever. Once you meet them, you're like, what do you like? And they're like, I like beer. Most people like food and drink. That's most of it. That's mostly what people want. Is just, and that's what people argue about the most is like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Like, people will argue about that more, honestly, than most political decisions in the United States. Like, any Supreme Court decision in the last 10 years has been fought about less than whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich, which it isn't. But as I say that, there might be people listening to this that are upset. That would say, no, a hot dog is a sandwich, you idiot, But that's what it is. You gotta try and learn that everybody's the same, and I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna try and approach those people with love. But it is funny because, I have done shows before where I'm doing shows to a group of people who I'm not like and they are not like me, and there are things in my life I do that they would never do and maybe look down upon. But I always go into every show with, well, you can't make them laugh if you don't love them. If you don't show them love, you don't show them that you're there to give them a good time. You show them that you're not going to judge them and that it's just all fun and games, And I go up there and I try and do that, and then I start doing certain material about sucking dick, and then they go, that is disgusting. And then it's tough to love them. The whole thing is like, hey, we're just going to have a good time up here. And then you just say your truth and you're just honest about your life and who you are. And then they go, no, don't do that. Stop it. And it's like, wait, I thought we could like each other and I could just love you guys and you could love me and we could have a good time. What happened to that? And they're like, we're not doing that. Okay. You're different, And, sometimes those are the times where I wonder how comedy's changed. Those are the times where I wonder, like, is it still as easy as it used to be, Because, like, sometimes, like, in comedy, people say, like, when you go to another state, never have them say that you are from L.A. because they will not like that. Because they will be like, oh, I hear about L.A. on the news. Is this guy homeless? Like, you hear a lot about that. They think you're going to be like a fruity fairy guy. Which is crazy because you're like, I thought we were all cool. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, like, I came out here to entertain you. Obviously, I'm not. I'm literally, it is so funny that any comedy crowd would be like, ugh, this guy's from LA, because it's like, this guy from LA literally flew across the country to try and make you happy. That's like the nicest guy from the whole city. From the entire city, one guy flew all the way across to your shitty city to give you guys a nice night. Why is he the dick? He's not the dick. The guy in the U.S. Bank building that never leaves L.A. unless to go to Fiji is a dick, okay? I'm coming to Jacksonville. All right, I'm the opener. This is going to be bad. I'm really, geez Louise, I don't know how this is going to go. We'll see, You get nervous. You get nervous about going to new places, But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. Either way, I'm excited. I'm just excited to go to a new place. I mean, that's the fun part about comedy is you get to see new places, and they're new places that you wouldn't ever vacation in. And I think that's the most important, exciting part is you're going to a new place. You're going to stay there for a few days, but you're there to like do a job. So you don't, you're not really like hemorrhaging money doing it. You're getting paid a little bit, and it's like a good time. Because otherwise I would never go to Jacksonville, And I hope to go to Jacksonville again, but only to do stand-up comedy. If I'm ever in Jacksonville and I'm not doing stand-up comedy, I think I will be there to like shoot a bunch of people at a mall or something. I don't know why I'd be there. I don't know what I would be doing there, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to be scared and lazy, was talking to my friend's kid, and he's like 7. He said being lazy is fire. And it's so tough when a kid says something that you kind of don't want to agree to because you don't want to enforce it, but is so right. And he doesn't even know why it's right yet. He knows it's right because he comes home from school and then he plays on his, games, and his mom will bring him food or whatever, and then he's happy and he's lazy. And it's like a good way to be lazy. You can kind of be lazy when you're 7 because it's like, well, he went to school, so he did his job. He took his little backpack all the way to school and did his homework, so now it's rest. But then you get older and all of a sudden, lazy being fire becomes a really scary thing because you go, fuck, never leaving my bed is so fire. Like, it is good. But then once I get out of bed, I realize I haven't done anything with my entire life and I want to kill myself. So in that way, laziness is not fire. But that is like the greatest problem you have as an adult, at least for me, is just being like, fuck, being lazy is awesome, And I guess it's not real adult. It's like early 20s adult, where you don't have any responsibilities. So it's like all your time just has to be devoted to yourself, and you're supposed to do productive things like do an amazing podcast that people love. But if you don't, you're lazy, and then your life sucks, But being lazy is fire. And there's just so many things that kids say that is completely right, that you have to act like isn't right. Today I asked him, I was like, do you want to go to college? He's like, I think when I went to college, I would shoot everybody, which is a joke, but an insane thing for a 7-year-old to say. But also in some way, you're like, man, dude, if I had to go back to college, I would shoot everybody too. Like, college does kind of suck. You're right. God, you're on the money. You know what I mean? Kids are always purely on the money, which with everything they're saying. That's why I like flying with kids can actually be fun. I know it's like a stereotype that it's terrible. Babies suck. They don't have anything to say. And when they do have something to say, they're crying and ruining the day for everybody. But like flying with like a 3-year-old, like a couple rows behind, dude, as long as you're not like trying to sleep or whatever, it's great because they just don't shut up. But they're talking and they're just saying everything that is true about the flight. And they don't, and because it's their first time experiencing airline travel. So everything they're saying is totally correct. They're just working at a lower level because it's their first time. But the premise is always on the money. Like, I was flying, and it took a while to take off. And there was a family behind me. It was 3 kids, and one of them was like 3 to 4. So he could talk, and he was getting his personality, but everything's new. And he was in the back. We were waiting for it to take off, and he goes, this is really taking a while. And then his mom just had to go, yeah, honey, sometimes the plane takes a while to take off. And he said, this is boring. And she said, it is, but we can do some fun stuff. And then she just taught him how to get through a plane ride. But I'm sitting up there with a book and a drink being like, this is boring. That's why I'm reading for the first time in months and I'm drinking at 3 p.m. because this is boring. You're so right. And then the plane takes off and he's like, we're going really fast. And I'm like, right again. Then we take off and he's like, we're taking off. And I'm like, fucking 3 for 3 so far with this kid. And then we're in the air and we're getting higher and all of our ears are starting to pop. And he goes, ow, Mom, my ears hurt. And I'm like, God, he doesn't stop being on the money. And his mom explained to him that she's like, yeah, your ears pop when you go up, but that pain will go away. So he's also learning about life. You know what I mean? It's also like, yeah, man, like sometimes to get somewhere, some pain comes along, but you'll get through it and you'll get to where you need to go, And that is definitely not the lesson that he got. He definitely just learned that his ears hurt. But I hope that there's a little bit, dribble in. Kids don't know. But we're flying, and now when you fly, nobody has wanderlust. Nobody looks out the window. They all close the slats. And he goes, I want to look out the window. And I go, I want to fucking look out the window. Me and this kid got to link up. I mean, no, but we got all the same ideas. Me and this 4-year-old have thought the exact same thing ever. Because 4-year-olds think the same things you do at the same time. It's just they mention it because it's their first time. So like when he was like, we're going fast, literally in my mind, I was looking out the window. I was like, we are going fast. And then he said it and I was like, fucking right again. Then we're on the flight and getting small cans of Coke, having a good time. We land. And then similar situation. Took a long time to get off the plane, which is very confusing to a kid. It's confusing to me as an adult. We land the plane, and in his head, because he doesn't know how much shit has to happen before he walks off, he has no idea how much stuff has to happen before he walks off this plane. We land. He's like, I can't wait to get off. And I'm like, me neither. But also, I know, and I can, you can hear the tension in his mom's voice. She's like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit, We land, slow down, we taxi. That's a new concept to him. I bet he didn't even think about having to get the airplane back to the gate. I thought he was like, we're landed. We can get off, which is so true. Taxi, we go to the gate. Takes a while to get off. They're not ready for us. There's lines at the airport. Not with humans, with planes. There are lines for planes. And his mom had to explain that to him. She had to say, there's a plane in front of us. He said, there's a whole other plane that we're waiting for? And she said, yeah. He said, that's annoying. And I was like, it is. God, he's so right. It's annoying. We're waiting there, and he says, I can't wait to get off the plane. And I was just like, God, he's. And then people start standing up, and he goes, oh, people are getting off the plane. We'll be off soon. And once again, that's what I thought. That's what he thought. He said it, but I'm older, so I had the second thought, which is, oh, right, that doesn't mean we're getting off. It means soon-ish, but it means this is going to take forever. There's going to be one person that's like just full extended with a bag that you don't even know how they got in there. That's just like, and we're there, and she's just blocking 59 people from entering. But he was just there, every step of the way for this whole situation. And the whole time I was like, kids are not the future. They are the present, and we need to listen to them right now. If you want to make a good airline, what you should do is you should get a 4-year-old with their parent, and you should have them fly on the plane. And everything the 4-year-old says, write it down, because it's what's wrong with the airplane, okay? Give them the snacks to be like, Mommy, this is a small bag of Cheez-Its. And then you got to be like, okay, all right, bullshit bag, even for a 4-year-old. I didn't know, big eater. Okay, all right, put that down. You know what I mean? Why is there smoke coming out of the windows? Has that been explained to any of us? I feel like I just hear the word, I feel like when I see the smoke, because when you're about to take off, there's like a mist that like comes out of the top of the plane. Do you know what it is? Think if you really know. Because chances are you don't know. You're just comfortable with it. You look at it, and then you go, what the fuck is that? And then you go, I don't know. I'm on a multi-million-dollar piece of machinery that I don't know how it works, so it probably is something. Like that's what it is. But then it comes out, he's like, the smoke's coming out, I hope they try and kill us every time. I hope that's what that smoke is. I don't know. I'm flying United to Jacksonville. That'll be good. Good airline. But I'm going to Appleton, Wisconsin with Pauly Shore. Any fans in Appleton, come out. Skyline Comedy Club in October. I don't know the dates. I'm going there, flying Spirit Airlines. And I told my friends I was flying Spirit. And just immediately, they were like, Spirit's a terrible airline. And I was like, yeah, I know. Why? Don't say that. I know. And then literally the guy goes, yeah, do you hear about that Spirit airline that just filled up with smoke? What? Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that a Spirit airline filled up with smoke, because that scares me more than if he said, did you hear a Spirit airline crashed? Because then I'd be like, well, yeah, every airline crashed. United 93 crashed, the most famous crash of all time, okay? Planes crash. But if you tell me it filled up with smoke, in my head, I'm like, that could be a problem with all the planes. That could be a problem we have not figured out yet. So, I don't know. People really like to do that, especially with airlines. People have so many thoughts about airlines and what you should do and how you should handle it. I like to just act like I'm in the 50s. Like, I buy the ticket and I get on the plane. But that's not smart, because then you don't choose an airline and build up miles and whatever. I hate those conversations. I hate feeling like a dumb, not adult guy. You tell them you're flying somewhere, people immediately, they don't ask you about where you're going. They say, what are you flying on? Come on. I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question because there's no good answer. If I say Spirit or Frontier or Delta, you're going to fucking tell me it's shitty. And then if I say fucking JetBlue, you'll say it's overpriced or whatever. So I don't know the answer to your fucking question or what you want to hear from me. The point is I'm getting on a plane and I'm going somewhere, and that's exciting for me. And I wish I could just be excited about it for me. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't drank in 3 days though, so that's good. It's funny. It's like I have to kind of like pass off vices where I was like, okay, I've been drinking too much. I got to slow down. I got to stop drinking. But then also I was like, but, you're allowed to smoke weed and still jack off a dangerous amount, because if we cut it all off at the head, we're going to be fucked. But it's crazy, people tell you to be healthy. You don't really think about it. And then you don't think about it for a few years. And then all of a sudden you just have like 4 vices that you need to fucking work out. And every time you take away one, you need the other 3 so much more. So like I'll do cold turkey, but only for 1. Because the other days I fucking need some ham and salami. Like that's what I need. Okay. I need the cured salam. Okay, I need the cigarettes. I haven't even considered quitting cigarettes in so long, just because there's just laziness and drinking and just jacking off and just new vices coming up, And it's not like jacking off is vice. It's the amount of it's the way I'm jacking off, okay? I'm jacking off the way I'll drink light beers, where it's like, yeah, I'll have another. And it's like, come on, you're still going to hit you. It's still not going to be good for you. You're still racking up numbers, okay? The fuck are you doing? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to not jack off when everything sucks in your life. It is. I really wish jacking off wasn't an option, because when you're sad, it's crazy that it can just be like, would you like a rush of dopamine? Would you like a rush of dopamine that really only lasts for a second and is followed by immediate shame? Because you're just jerking off? And the answer is yeah. It's totally yeah. Because it's like, I'll do that with drugs too. It's like, it's just right there. And I wish it wasn't. I wish you weren't able to jack off. I wish that just wasn't an option. I wish, like, if I wanted to come, I had to go fuck a man or a woman. Like, I just wish that was the option. And a lot of Christians would say it is the option. It is the only option. But I don't like that, because that's not true. Jacking off is still an option. I still have to fight it in the same way. It's just, if I do your thing, I have to fucking go to church every Sunday. And that's annoying. And I don't want to do that. God, it would be wonderful if just every time you jacked off, your body just was like, and you just couldn't, You just get down there and your body's like, just pulls a parking brake on your emotions, and you're just, nope, that would make things easier, instead of being sad as fuck and then being like, you could jerk off right now. It's like, come on, stop, don't tell me that. I don't want to fucking know that. That's not good for me, idiot. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta jerk off, Maybe I'll jerk off on the airplane tomorrow. Maybe I'll get kicked off the airplane. God, it'd be a great time in my life to die from a flight, especially to do comedy, you know what I mean? Because I'm just so fucking pissed off and sad. It would be great if I died on a flight to go do stand-up, because then people would be like, God, he had such a big future in front of him. It's so sad that happened, When the truth is, I don't have a big future in front of me. I'll probably be doing this podcast in this same room as I talked about last week for the rest of my life. But they don't know that. People think I have potential. Silly, silly billies. If I could just, if I could explode in a plane right now, mamma mia. The plane would be going down and people would be like, oh my God, my whole life, it's all over. Ah. And I'd be going down just being like, dude, I'm going to be so sick post-mortem. People are going to think I'm awesome. People barely like me now, but if this happens now, then I am fucking the man. For a couple months, until everyone forgets about me, and then, every year, a couple people, really just my parents, come to the grave and, throw some flowers out of their car window and drive away, That would be it'd be good for me. Comedians Dying Young, really good for comedians. Really, really makes people, because you only get better at comedy if you work hard at it. You only get better and better. So when a young comic dies, they're like, oof, he would have been so good. He would have been amazing, And right now, I'm like a kind of shitty, but a little better than maybe I should be for my age, but still pretty shitty comic. But if I could die, people would go, oh. And then people look back at my podcast and be like, oh, holy shit. What a good last podcast this would be if I do die on this flight. Because then I could get endowed with mythical powers. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's been a decent week, though. It's been interesting. My friend went through a breakup. I don't know if I talked about this on the last episode, but it was a very funny day because we tried to take care of him. We took him out to his favorite sandwich shop, closed. Then we're hanging out, decided to go to a Dodgers Diamondbacks game. Big Diamondbacks fan. He's a big Diamondbacks fan. We go, and then the Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks 9-1. And we left at the 6th inning, but the score when we left at the 6th was 9-1. And I'm a big baseball fan, so I didn't stop cheering for the Dodgers. I'm not a big baseball fan, sorry. I'm a big Dodgers fan. That's a LA way of liking sports. You don't really love the sport, you love the team. God, I love those jerseys. But I'm a big Dodgers fan, so they're fucking demolishing the Diamondbacks. I felt bad for my friend, but the whole time I was like, fucking, this is Dodger baseball. You know what you're seeing? You're seeing some good-ass Dodger baseball, baby. This is what it's all about. This is why we play the game, okay? Mookie Betts just hit a home run. I don't know. I've been going to some baseball games. I like going to baseball games. I never sat at the top. I feel like such an idiot. I was always, because my mom used to cut Ryan Braun's mom's hair. If you don't know Ryan Braun, he was I believe, left fielder for the Brewers who won MVP one year because he was a good hitter, but he was taking steroids, and that came out after he won the MVP award, and he beat Matt Kemp of the Dodgers for it. So he would come to LA, and the entire stadium would boo him, and it was amazing, and he was the reason we had tickets, but we would also boo. And people chant Kemp VP. That's what he should have had. One time we were at the game, he threw a foul ball, or he threw a ball, whatever. He threw it into the stands, as they do. And then somebody in the stands just threw it back at him. It was awesome. But all the time we were like 20 rows behind third baseline, which is like cool because you're there, but you don't really see what's going on. You don't see the plays happening. When you're up there, you're watching a baseball game. You're like you're watching TV. It's fucking awesome. And you're just up there screaming. It's amazing. You can see the whole game. This is a fucking spoiled kid realizing how much better some things are. Sorry, I know this is infuriating for some people to listen to, but just for all you broke fucking losers up there that will never sit on the bottom level unless you sneak down there, and you should be kicked out for it. Just know, it's not really that good down there, okay? You get to be on the camera, and that's nice, but you're not seeing a lot of the game, okay? There's a tall guy in front of you. That's the game for you. You missed the game, okay? You're a little kid trying to see a game. Dodge your dog the size of your head. Boom. Anyway, this has been fun. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next week. Love ya.